Hi everyone, so today I'm sharing with you a lesson I did with my Algebra 1 students. The link to my site and this page is in the description below. To begin, I passed out bags of candies to my kids. It could be M&Ms, Skittles. For this particular day, we used Valentine hearts because the day the activity was planned for was for Valentine's Day. So together we worked through a Prezi presentation that I put together, and it's linked right here. So if you click on it, it'll take you to the presentation. And together we worked through the presentation to fill out a worksheet. So here it is. And you can take some time to look through it. What we did, I brought up the worksheet. It's a thing with my kids not to write their names, so I made sure to tell them to write their name. And then to continue, we started adding hearts. So they added candies to a cup and they recorded it in a worksheet. And so this kind of walks them through that. They had to decide on a pattern. It was really important that they use the same pattern over and over again so that they can see a constant rate of change. The whole unit was online, so that was a big deal. And so they started with round 0. I wanted to make sure that was important, that they started with 0 and not with 1, because we were doing sequences, arithmetic and geometric sequences, so that was important for them as well to make those connections. And then as a group, they talked things through. They came up with explicit rules. Here it is, arithmetic explicit rules, so that's where that ties in. And all of this was in preparation for them to start writing equations of lines. And so after we added hearts, we started eating the hearts. So this was a subtraction scenario. Again, they had to have a constant rate. And so they developed a sequence, they chose a pattern, they were excited to eat them. You'd think they're old enough not to get super excited about candy, but that's definitely not the case. I had 9th graders and they were super psyched. And then again, they shared with their group about what they came up with. So after they filled out their worksheet, the directions in the worksheet tells the students to open a shared Google Sheet and enter their values in the sheet. So then they had some questions to answer on their worksheet about that. So if I take you back to my site, scrolling down here, I have the spreadsheet posted. So for my kids in particular, my group of students has the itch to click on boxes that they're not supposed to click on. So for me personally, I had to be very, very careful about assigning permissions to boxes to specific students and their emails. So that beforehand, that setup was a little time consuming, but for those of you who have maybe a group of students who are a little more responsible about the boxes and you're not worried about them messing up the sheet, you can definitely just post it to them. They added their names and then they filled in the boxes. And if you notice over here, I set up a graph so that as they enter numbers into the boxes, those lines will create themselves. So they're not plotting the lines, they're just seeing what happens when they plot their data. And so when they eat candies, there's another sheet on the same spreadsheet where they would do the same thing. Again, they would add their values here, and then they can see the graph as it progresses through the rounds. And then not only that, but they will see each other's graphs. So that was very important as well. And so here's the worksheet that they worked through with all the instructions. They have their tables, they came up with rules. And the really important part was for them to make conclusions about their lines. So during the activity, students tried a few things. One thing that came up was not adding or subtracting anything at all. So pretty much leaving an empty cup the entire time, or maybe having 3 to start out with, because that was one thing. Some of them started out with different values because their first step was to just put some hearts in the cup. So some of them started out with maybe 7 and then they didn't add anything. And so they were able to see it was a great conversation about horizontal lines. Now, the other thing a lot of students noticed was that if their patterns were the same, then their lines were parallel. And that was another really important factor behind graphing lines and equations of lines. And again, it sparked great conversation. Finally, students could really see with this graph here when they made mistakes. So when they added the wrong amount in one round, for example, they could easily see kinks in the lines of the chart that was set up here in Sheets. So Students made great discoveries. You were able to reference back to this activity many, many times throughout the unit. And they had a lot of fun seeing their teammates on different laptops filling in the table. So it was a really fun lesson. If I were to add anything to it, there's a lot of student choice going on in the activity, but maybe have them do some background information, do a little bit of research, maybe create some more things on their own for the document. But to start out with this type of technology with my ninth graders, it turned out pretty well. So if you want any of these resources, feel free to grab them off the website. I really hope that you'll be able to use them for yourselves. And if you have any questions, let me know. Thanks for watching the video all the way through, and bye-bye.